tribe of Dan. The biblical tribe of Dan that was taken away in the year 721 BCE by the Assyrian king, taken, according to legends, to a place called, place beyond the mountains, to Bikat Hayarech, the Valley of the Moon. Where is this place? No one knows. He starts telling us this incredible story, how a group of Jewish anthropologists and sociologists have been, for the last 17 years, carefully studying an isolated tribe in the Gondar region, the existence of which has been known for decades, but never been thoroughly researched. And this group of individuals, they're living an archaic form of Jewish life that hasn't been seen for over 2,500 years. You would probably call it the Judaism of the First Temple period. In other words, anything that the Jews knew about in their communal saga, their collective saga, or that they performed as part of their tradition, then that's what this group does today. But anything that has been added to the Jewish repertoire since that time, any new leaders or new institutions or major events in Jewish history that transpired after their separation from mainstream Jewish life, they know nothing about. Absolutely nothing about, because they were physically isolated and had no way of knowing. So, for instance, they knew quite a lot about Jewish life even then, for they had 1,000 years of Jewish history behind them. They knew about Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Joseph and Pharaoh and dreams and Egypt and fat cows and skinny cows and pyramids and slavery and Moses and Red Sea and Dead Sea and Mount Sinai and 10 Commandments. And they knew about Joshua. They knew about Jericho. They knew about the prophets of Israel. They knew about the judges of Israel. They knew about the kings of Israel. They knew Saul, our first king, and they knew David, our second, and they knew Solomon the third, and they knew that Solomon was the one who on Mount Moriah had constructed some 2,900 years ago the first temple. They didn't call it the first temple because they didn't know there had been a second. They called it Solomon's temple. And there were a few other minor things that they never heard about. They knew almost nothing about synagogues, because they knew about the temple in Jerusalem. And they knew nothing about rabbis, because they knew about the Kohanim, the priests that served in the temple. And they knew very little about prayer, because they were very much into sacrifice. They knew about the sacrifice at the time of the first temple. They knew nothing about Tzfat and Jewish mysticism, and nothing about the expulsion of Spanish Jewry in 1492. They knew nothing about King Herod and the Second Temple. They knew nothing about Herzl or about Zionism or about Hitler or about the Holocaust, and they've never heard of the State of Israel. As a matter of fact, they didn't even know there was such a thing as Jews with white skin. They are the only Jews that are left. They are the remnants of Beta Israel, the house of Israel, that was dispersed 2,700 years ago. They didn't even know there was such a thing as Jews with white skin. They didn't even know there was such a thing as Jews with white skin. They didn't even know there was such a thing as Jews with white skin. They didn't even know there was such a thing as Jews with white skin. They are the only Jews that are left. They are the remnants of Beta Israel, the house of Israel, that was dispersed 2,700 years ago. God, we had to bring underwear to Shmulik's house on Saturday night to get a Bible lesson about the tribes of Israel from 2,700 years ago. He's gone on one too many missions. He's lost touch with reality. And then he says, we've discovered the tribe of Dan. And then he says, we've discovered the tribe of Dan. And then he says, we've discovered the tribe of Dan.